Good morning, my friends. It's your old pal Peace Love Music with another Good Morning Stacks update, and really great stuff happening in the community. Super excited about what's going on. Um, Always remember that we're here to provide information and education for our community. We're never giving financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, this is not where to get it. But we will give you some information and with which you can use to make your own decisions. And keep that in mind. Bitcoin's a little bit up this morning. When I last looked about 20 minutes ago, it was 61, a little over 61 300-ish, which is up from toying around that 60K range yesterday, the last couple of days. Stacks has actually rebounded well back up to $1.89. It's shot up from number 35 all the way up to the number 31 place on CoinMarketCap by total market cap. Fear and Greed Index has stayed steady at 36, still in the fear range, but it seems to be stabilizing. And the top three gainers on CoinMarketCap for the past 24 hours are FTT, the FTX token gross. Financial advice, don't buy that. Beam and Celestia. And those that don't know, I am actually a fan of the IBC network, what's going on in Cosmos. I like the ethos there. It's not my main focus, but it is a chain that I'm kind of interested in. And Celestia is a part of that, bridges to Ethereum as well. So some interesting concepts there on Celestia. And if you do like our content, please do follow us at DeOrganized.btc on X. And we are broadcasting this morning in partnership with Bitcoin Live Decentralized Broadcasting. And we love our Bitcoin Live family. I'm going to actually have Nick from Bitcoin Live on our Thursday podcast next week to spotlight Bitcoin Live. I think people need to know more about what they're doing. Great work. Going to hit the stacks calendar for the day. Let's see what we got. Light morning, nothing going on until the noon X space for the weekly SIP call with Hero Gamer. Stacks improvement proposals. We're going to go over what's active in the space and also talk about game planning on how to get some more participation and maybe even some brainstorming sessions around SIP processes to talk about future SIPs and help have some community input on that. So tune in at noon today. At 2 p.m. will be good for Bitcoin Trust Machines X space. Always some interesting stuff going on from Trust Machines, the big brother in our ecosystem, putting out all sorts of great projects and applications for the Stacks community. At 3 p.m., we have a Stacks Africa update and chill session. That's new. Really excited about that. I love what they're doing with the Stacks Africa project and Freddie over there onboarding new users in the space and helping them develop skills to use in the ecosystem. Followed by at 4 p.m., Stacks Nigeria pushing the narrative. I believe that's Sam's project. Sam's also running the Stacks Lab project, bringing in new coders to the ecosystem. So really interested in seeing what they got to talk about. And then at 5, from 5 to 7, it's the Nakamoto Friday with Dan Trevino from Boom Wallet and B-Rad. They always have some great conversation. Lots of good friends show up. So check them out. It's a great way to end the week, Friday. And it is Friday. Hooray. The end of the week. It's been a lot of work coming in. And really excited about all the things that are developing. One of the projects that I'm most excited about in the space right now is the Stacks Link project. That's just another one of the many projects that have sprouted out through the D grants process, kind of taking over the front piece or the community aspect of the D grants process and providing tons of tools for creators, artists, and builders in the Stacks ecosystem. So if you are building and you're interested in coming to Stacks or you're interested in building on Stacks, check out the Stacks Link. It's at Stacks Link on X for more. And just some really great stuff happening there. I do want to, again, remind everybody there was the discovery or the I guess it came out a little over a week ago, a fake malicious NFT, and this happens fairly regularly. It's mimicking the stacking DAO original user NFT that gives you points, but it's not that. Leads to a fake malicious website. It has a drainer. It'll drain your wallet. Anytime you see something in your wallet that you don't know where it came from, don't interact with it. Check in with your communities. If you're a member of a community that's in console or in Discord, or you just following people on Twitter, on X, talk to your friends. And if nobody knows where it's from, definitely leave it alone. There are some tools developing in the space that maybe will have some more organized and centralized locations for people to report these things and or inquire about them. And that's part of some recent developments, all stemming out of the Charisma hack or the Charisma attack, and the community's response to that, which has been just incredible. It's actually a testament to how awesome our community is. Also, tune in tomorrow by the same measure. The syndicate guys, Mike Jagdeo. So you want to attract funding on Twitter. A lot of people know him as Blockface. And the other syndicate guys, they are building an AI tool or working on some AI tools to help facilitate some extra security and better audit practices for projects in the Stacks ecosystem. And tomorrow at 1 p.m., there is a Twitter space. It's an AI build-a-thon where they're looking for input on that project. So if you're familiar with the Charisma attack at all, or you're a developer in the space, or you're just interested in learning more about code security in the space, tune in tomorrow, 1 o'clock. That's in conjunction with a bunch of contributors from the space: Moon Labs, the Orange Hats, Set Zeus, Clarity Alliance. A lot of people will be participating in that, so tune in. I want to give a shout out to Dan Trevino from Boom Wallet. Dan's been doing some tremendous work with his project. We're really excited about the expansion of commerce in the crypto ecosystem and being able to transact all within Stacks and Bitcoin transactions, and also support for SIP10 tokens. So you want to pay in RU, or you want to pay in Welsh, or you want to pay in SBTC, you'll be able to do that. So really awesome stuff going on with Boom Wallet. You go to boom.money, and right now you can put your email address in, join the wait list, and they'll notify you. They'll give you updates as to what they're building. And they'll also notify you when the project launches. So be really interesting stuff. Definitely get yourself lined up for that. Also, we have Zero Authority bounties are still ongoing. It's a great way if you have a project, you have a community, and you're looking to do something fun for the community. It doesn't have to be a ton of stacks. It could be a handful of stacks. It could be like 20 stacks. It could be 50 stacks, however much you want. It could be 5 stacks. Oh, hey, we want to do a meme contest. You get your community to do a bunch of memes, and the one with the best meme gets the bounty. Go to zeroauthority.xyz. Make sure you have a Zero Authority account set up. You can tie it to your BNS name and or just your regular Stacks address if you don't have a BNS name. And you can set up bounties for your community. You can participate in bounties, maybe earn some stacks. There are a few bounties ongoing right now. I think there's over 100 stacks available for up for grabs. And it's just a really easy way to set up verifiable rewards for your community, bounties for your community to get them involved into things. And finally, just another shout out to the stxbets.com. They have it's a predictions market. I don't know if they've actually got a prediction up there yet. I haven't checked it today, but they do have $1,000 in the liquidity pool right now, 1,000 stacks. So actually closer to $2,000 in USD value. And they're calling it a bug bounty, but basically it's just there, and it's a new project, and they're taking a kind of an innovative way to audit security, and they're just saying, hey, there's this money here, come and try to hack it, and if you hack it, you can keep it. So if you're of that persuasion and you know how to do that sort of thing, and you want to poke around in their contract, you could take yourself 1,000 stacks for the trouble of helping them bug out project. So go get that money, guys. Without further ado, I do have back in action after a week off, in which he was missed very much by me and a bunch of other people in the community. Happy to have him, my brother, legend of Stacks legends, Jackbinswitch, is here with us again on Friday. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Good morning, man. Thank you. It's always cool to come hang out with you on Friday mornings and talk about this space. You know, we love what we do, and it's just been a very exciting time for Stacks. You know, with this slow build for so long, and you know, it got me thinking when you were giving your announcements, and you're like Bitcoin's at like 61.4. Like if you go look at the chart on Bitcoin from when everyone was freaking out the other day when you know this nonsense in the Middle East kicked off. Which, by the way, that's what did us in like April, May, right? Like you know you had the same nonsense kick off and kill the price action. But if you look at the chart, it's a blip. Like it's trading in a range, right? So I think it got me thinking about emotion and how much that plays a part in this game, right? Because that's all a price chart is it's just a graph of a whole lot of people's emotions, right?
Yep.
And so it's very funny because there's a lot of lessons that can be gleaned from this, okay? And so it got me thinking. There's probably a few things, especially for the newer people, to keep in mind. One is you have to go with your conviction. You know, you cannot ever just, that's why people, you know, that's why I say not financial advice. It's because like people have to make their own conviction, right? People have to, if you're going to put your money in this stuff, or if you're bullish on Bitcoin, you have to know why you're bullish on Bitcoin. You're bullish on Stacks, you have to know why, etc.
Right. You shouldn't be bullish. You shouldn't be bullish on Bitcoin because I'm bullish on Bitcoin.
Right.
You should be bullish on Bitcoin because the data supports that and you understand that.
100%. Because the thing is, like, when things are happening, you know, emotion management's the hardest part of like trading. And it's, even if you're a holder, it can be also, especially if you're terminally online paying attention to this stuff, right? So that gets into a whole different bevy of considerations in and of themselves. But the reality is, you know, like when you're sitting there, we have October. Well, guess what? All of these BlackRock assholes and the ones like them that now own just tons and tons of Bitcoin, they will dump on you to shake you out of your position. That's been going on for over half a year now, and probably in reality longer before that, as they were, you know, getting prepared via proxies for when all of this stuff ultimately started becoming more mainstream. So you've got to be in control of your emotions. And one of the best ways to get in control of your emotions is to understand your risk appetite. Okay, so if we're sitting here talking right now, and I go to I go to an exchange that allows me to trade leverage, and I find something that the chart looks good, but I don't know anything about it, not really, and I go and put, you know, $5,000 down, which is that would be a tremendous bet for me, right? $5,000 down, 100x leverage. I am going to be a wreck trying to manage that trade. I am going to be an absolute, and I am not going to make good decisions. So you have to pay attention to your exposure and what you're comfortable with, right? So that's another part of that. And then finally, and this is one of the most important things for everyone to think of. And this is stuff that when I first started my blog, my first several posts were about trading and so forth, because I really didn't know which way that was going to go back then. But you really, really need to be early anytime possible, right? So that's why reading those emotions on that chart is such a handy tool, and knowing what you're making an investment in, understanding the narrative, understanding the value. These things all work in conjunction, because if you're early, guess what? You don't care. Okay. So, as a personal anecdote, my average buy-in price for STX is somewhere around 45 cents when you take all of it into consideration. Do you have any idea how bad of a day it has to be for me to get nervous about stacks? Like, just from that perspective, right? So that's why it's always people who follow me, it's pay attention, learn what you're doing, pay attention, get in early to the good stuff, right? Because that's the unique advantage we all have right now. None of us can go and be early to Apple. None of us can go be early to Google. None of us can go and be early to Nvidia. But we all can be early to this burgeoning technology that has potential to change the world in more profound ways than even the internet itself did, right? So I guess that's my soapbox this morning. But that was,
you're absolutely right. We're still super early to stacks, but not only is the opportunity to be early holding the coin an investor, but it's an opportunity. There's lots of opportunity to get involved in the community, to get engaged with these applications that are already, even the applications that are successful and running. Those guys are still very in tune to the community. There's not a lot of separation, so it's approachable. You can get involved. You can learn, meet the people, make the networks, and find your own niche as to how you can be involved beyond just holding the token and number go up. And so I don't get my average cost in is not as attractive as yours for stacks. Although I did buy, I started buying when it was like around 30 cents, late early spring 23 was when I first started accumulating. It wasn't huge amounts of money that I was putting into it. I just started accumulating and learning about the process, and I've been accumulating ever since. I've accumulated as high as $3 and change because I believe in the system, and I expect it'll be significantly higher than that long term. And
100%.
I also I'm not worried about the number going down in the short term because I'm not, and there's a difference between trading and especially leverage trading, which is super. I have a little bit of experience with that. I did really well when the S&P was crashing, not last summer, but the summer before. I put a lot of money into shorting the S&P on what's the app that a lot of the kids use for trading?
Oh, Robinhood.
Robinhood.
Yeah.
On Robinhood, I traded options on Robinhood, and I turned about $3,000 into about $13,000 over the course of like a 3.5 month period. Right. But the stomach aches, the indigestion, watching the market during that time, and is it time to sell now? Should I do it now? Oh my God, there was one day where it absolutely should have. The numbers for the inflation number came up super hot, and the market started crashing, and then out of the blue, from nowhere, it actually ended up rocketing up, which it shouldn't have. But that's those guys, those same BlackRock guys. They know what's going to happen and how they're going to game it to screw everybody that thinks they know what's going to happen. 100%. So it's very, very hard to do that. I want to actually shout out some of the people. We have a bunch of Heroes says hello. Nobody famous from the Pepe, the Bitcoin Pepe group. Good morning, sister. She's been saying hi a lot. Jamie Fletcher, our friend, saying hi. Blockweb has made an appearance to say hello. I think that's their first time shouting out. Hello, Reese. Great stuff. Heroes on talking more. There's all Giga Pepe's out here saying good morning. Good morning, everybody. We have such a great community, Jack. We really do. That's my favorite part about this. Not only is there lots of opportunity for people to get involved, there's lots of good people to get involved with.
You know, that was one of the concerns back in the day, because you find the community and you're like, oh man, this place is perfect. And then you start like making friends and connections, and you're like, man, I really hope that as Stacks grows, that the community stays good. And like, dude, the Stacks community's grown exponentially since then, and the community still is better than ever, right? So it's super hopeful, super optimistic, and like to kind of put a point on the end of the trading discussion. Most people fall into the trap of, I'm going to be a day trader, right? That's the temptation. And the reality of it is, because it seems easy because you're clicking buttons, but the reality of it is most people aren't suited for that. You know, it's extraordinarily difficult. The best strategy for most people, and this is not like financial advice. Nobody should ever do what I do, because I'm retarded when it comes to this stuff.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, my risk appetite is non-existent. There's no level to it. You really have to get bad with it. Find the good stuff that you believe in, that makes sense to you. Trust your gut. Don't let people fudge you out your bags if you have if you have a conviction, and just hold. That's going to be the biggest thing. We are no less than 5 years ahead of the vast majority of humanity where this stuff's concerned. We might be closer to 10, right? When you talk about crypto holistically. And so there's no rush. Like, I know everyone wants to get rich quick and all this, but guys, your whole idea of wealth is going to change if you stay in this long enough. Like, when I have to sell Bitcoin for fiat, I get physically ill. Like, so this idea of like, I'm going to take this awesome asset, the best currency and network ever created in the history of mankind, and I'm going to sell it for a depreciating asset, makes no sense at all, right? So like, you'll eventually get there. So that's probably the last thing I want to end on that. But I am kind of interested to see this HBO documentary about Satoshi, who Satoshi Nakamoto is. It's gonna be total bullshit, but it's gonna be a great marketing play for Bitcoin. That's my prediction there. You know, have you heard about that yet?
Say that again,
dude? Okay, I think it came out yesterday. HBO, the cable network, is doing a documentary saying we know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and it's gonna shock the world. So they're building.
That's awesome that HBO is making a documentary about Satoshi. Whether I doubt they know who it is.
I hope that prediction market's up and running, because I really would love to make some bets on that, right? Like, how funny would it be if they're like, it's Craig Wright, produced by Craig Wright, directed by Craig Wright.
Yeah, that's probably it. Fake Tochi for the loss again. I mean, why? It's just so, people are weird. Human psychology is very interesting, because I just don't understand how you could. He's so obviously not Satoshi, based on all the evidence. So what compels somebody to pretend like that just so repeatedly? And he already has a ton of Bitcoin,
right?
Like, he doesn't need.
It's like the worst form of I don't know, man. Like, when you start talking about people and their personalities and the different disorders and so forth people can be afflicted with, I mean, it's like immediate fame, and I guess if you really have a part of your body, part of your being that craves that kind of thing, it's hard to relate with it. But like, this is an attention economy. This whole everything's an attention economy if you really think about it. And I'm really really excited to see what kind of attention it brings to Bitcoin. Because that's really what it's all about. And as we sit here, like we were talking to Dan yesterday about the Boom wallet, and that is just an amazingly just huge step in the direction that we need to go in. When you can start to see these things coalesce into what the future is going to look like. And the more people that learn about Bitcoin, that it's in their consciousness, when I got into Bitcoin, I've told this story before. It was because I had gone into business. My business had gone under, and I was like, I had to start travel nursing to like quickly make money because I was in a tight spot. And so I was alone in a hotel, out of state, just being miserable, working, missing my family. And then I had like taxes due, right? Like coming up, and I was really in a jam. And so that's when I was like, okay, the Bitcoin thing's looking really cool. This might be an answer to a problem. And so what originally started as just that little thing, that just one thing right there, eventually led me to understanding more than I ever could have bargained for, and completely like changing the whole focus of so many parts of my life, especially where you know politics, money, finance, economy, just a completely different understanding. So just that little seed, if this stupid documentary even just plants that little seed, this is ultimately where it goes if you can like stick with it, right? Like, so it's incredibly bullish, actually, I believe.
Oh, it's super bullish. Just if you look at all of the stuff that's coming, just in stacks, we got fast blocks, we got SBTC, we got the advent of more functional BNS names. We've got on-chain reputation and gig marketplace coming out. We've got new payment methods coming out with what Dan's building. There's just tons of hit after hit after hit after hit of new stuff coming. And it's already a very vibrant place as far as the people that are here are very engaged and active. So, and then you're getting the political race. The candidates are talking about crypto regularly.
All right.
This is, I don't think you're going to see, because of the ETF and the amount of Bitcoin that those guys hold and other assets, the other major assets, there is going to be capacity for manipulation to maybe the bull won't be quite as explosive as we've seen in the past, at least for Bitcoin price. It's diminishing returns anyway, right? But I think over time, also the bear won't be as severe either, and it'll start to stable out, and you'll just see this more linear rise as it becomes more mass adopted.
Personally.
Personally.
100%. Like, that's back in the day. That's the kind of thing, like if you were in a Discord or a TG and just kind of chatting with your friends, that's what you talk about. You'd be like, look, this volatility is going to diminish as the market becomes more mature. And we are seeing that now. And now, like, a little 3% move on Bitcoin has everyone, freaking out when like it's a sign. Like 3% volatility in Bitcoin was nothing. Like it'd be like worrying about 3% volatility on a meme coin with $5,000 worth of liquidity, right? Like, it's just not a big deal. So yeah, man, like it's the whole thing is changing. It's changing rapidly. And the amount of opportunity, and this is the other thing that I always try to tell people because it's important. You know, if you're here now, you're actually still early, as inexplicable as that sounds. It's the temptation to think, oh man, all the best opportunities have passed me up. I wish I could have bought Bitcoin for $10 and I'd be rich now. No, you would have sold it at 12, 13, 14, 20, or 6 or 5 or what
or
have
even
you.
or even $1,000. Would you have
Right.
made it past $1,000 if you bought it at 10?
Right,
Probably
exactly.
not.
So like, you aren't late. You're actually quite early in the scheme of things. And the reality is so much is going to be built on what we're doing right now. It you can't fully wrap your mind around it. Even like with the horrible tragedy that we're having in North Carolina and Tennessee and South Carolina, Virginia, and so forth. When you like, my first thing is, okay, who do I send money to help out? And you're like, oh man, there's all of these different charities. Who's legit? Who's this? Who's that? I so look forward to the day when I can just click a button on a Boom wallet and go fund a charity and not have to worry that these funds are going to go to their intended recipients, right? So
Right now, you can almost be guaranteed that, like, at least half, if not significantly more than half, isn't going to help anybody.
exactly. You've got huge charities in this country that, you're literally talking pennies on a dollar actually go towards the intended cause. Everything else is just siphoned off in terms of this bureaucracy that's created around managing the charity itself, which is a microcosm.
Salaries, marketing,
right.
Salaries, marketing, political donations.
Right.
It's a
100%. Like that's why the system hates what we do. That's
exactly
one of the main reasons. And so just yesterday I saw a headline on X. I believe it was Bank of America. I don't know. It's one of these asshole banks that got popped laundering drug money for Mexican cartels, right? And these same banks are the ones who line the pockets of people like Elizabeth Warren with campaign donations and cushy jobs for friends and family and all of this nonsense to try to kill crypto in the crib. And so
they're buying those. They buy senators and congressmen, and politicians.
Yeah.
That's our system is designed for our political representatives to be for sale to the highest bidder, which thus inescapably usurps the balance between them representing us in the government. So we don't really have a representative system.
No, and like I believe in the foundational ideas of the United States Constitution. I believe in the Bill of Rights. Like, I think in terms of earthly documents, it's hard to get any better. And going forward, if we can't have like a better system within that framework to allow for representation of the people, I really think we should go back to like ancient Greece. I can't remember what city state it was in ancient Greece. I think it was in Athens. You know how they did democracy? It was a lottery system. If you were a citizen, when it was election time, everyone's name went into a clay pot and you pick it, and oh crap, I have to now be a representative for
you're a counselor now.
Right. Yeah. So anything's better than this system where
it's kind of like how Kitty picked the counselors for Stackslink.
It's a good way because there's no lobbying, there's no like people being you have to be inherently distrustful of people who pursue power for power's sake, because it's going to draw the wrong kind of people. And that's again,
this is the subject matter I am most interested in, or one of my preferred subject matters. I was in my brief college career, again, I was a young father, so I couldn't really stay in the school system, but that part of the education system, I'm largely self-taught. But political science and economics I was double majoring, and that subject matter I'm very interested in. And yes, the rights enshrined in the Constitution it's an amazing document, and for the time it was it created this amazing country, but we've diverted a lot from there, from the time that you and I were kids to where we are now. A lot has changed with the way the government mechanisms, they've kind of they've created a bunch of workarounds for those limitations, because those are limitations on what the government can and can't do. That's what the Bill of Rights is. But the other part of it is, when that model was created, information moved at the speed of horse.
Right.
Now it moves at the speed of light, and we haven't evolved the mechanisms and the restrictions on government to match that capacity. Which I think decentralization is a huge component to that, where we can empower people to have more direct influence on the democratic process, without it being as centralized. But anyway, that's a little bit of a deep.
Yeah. Getting back to college, that's another headline I saw on X. There was some I don't know all the circumstances, but basically this kid went to the University of Pennsylvania on a scholarship and whatnot, and was completely illiterate. Like, now it's like this big thing, can't read or write, literally. Was accepted to so self-taught's probably the way to go, at least in recent years.
It's so, of my 5 oldest children, I have one that's still in college. My oldest 2 went to college, but they went to state school. It was cheap. They don't have a ton of debt. And they studied STEM subjects, and they're making really great money. There's opportunity there if you apply yourself. My next 2, neither one of them were really. My next son, my second oldest son, my third oldest, it was like pulling teeth to get him to be able to graduate high school. I was like, and he's talking about applying for college, and I'm like, why? You're not gonna go to college. You're not gonna do it. Like, don't. It's not for everybody. And I encourage self-study. We should all be growing and learning and everything. College is not for everybody, and it's expensive. Even if it's quote unquote free, it's not free. And what is the value of something that you're getting for free, and how do you apply that to there's a lot of there's so many tools now too, where you can get that education much quicker just studying, watching videos on YouTube and engaging with people in various forums and stuff. You can learn a lot more that way, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and education, that's another industry that's just ripe to be completely changed because of AI, just in and of itself, right? So I think there's and that kind of leads me to this next part. Like, the one of the main reasons I'm super bullish on crypto right now is, okay, we've come so far as an industry with kind of like being blind and having one hand tied behind our back because of the regulatory environment and the uncertainty of it. And so if you're getting back to what you were saying about, how crypto's become a political issue now, we have the opportunities here, and people are finally kind of starting to understand that, like, the environment we live in is so overregulated that it's hard to get anything done. Like if we take, if you could take the regulatory framework we have in place in this country and in most countries, even in Europe, I saw, I believe it was the PM of France said, you know, the EU is at risk because of overregulation. Just the other day, like if you took the regulatory framework we have now and you go back 100 years, we'd probably still be on horses and buggies today. We'd probably still be using whale oil for our lamps because back then you had people making a lot of money on whale oil. You had a lot of people making money in the horse and buggy business, and we don't need these damn pesky cars and all this and someone else. So
It's just like you know for a fact that they would have taken that approach, because look what Edison did with the electrical system.
right.
It was supposed to be DC. It was all supposed to be DC based. It's way cheaper. It's way safer. But it can't be metered, and charged. That it's not as profitable to distribute.
That's why in school you learned way more about Edison than you did Tesla, right? Like that's the whole thing. Because but now we're on the verge. If the people that I share this country with and you share this country with can get their heads out their asses long enough to pay attention, like we could literally see crypto go so much further so fast with just regulations that no one even asked for, no one even voted for, that were put into place by a permanent bureaucracy that is typically operating at the pleasure of the most elite wealthy people with vested interests that ever lived.
Globally,
right?
Globally,
Right.
These are people that exist supranationally, you know, beyond the scope of nation states. So
Right.
it's a top down layer above what is supposed to be the top layer over society, and they're not elected. You know, they're not. It's
100%. So like, if you're here right now, and things can just, if we can just break this nonsense, just to put a crack in the dam of the bullshit dam that is holding back, you know, our economy, our way of life, like you're literally on the verge of a golden age. Because the reality is, if you have cheap energy / free energy, and with sufficient automation and hard money, if you take those three things, you've just raised the quality of life. You can pull everybody out of poverty, just globally, right? It's just a matter of time at that point, because you've just solved every problem with three steps, right? That's it. It's done. Because everything we buy, it's the price of energy and manufacturing and transport that adds so much to that. So if the energy's cheap, free or cheap, then and you have automation, well, now you've just absolutely decimated the cost of like providing goods and services. And if you have hard money, you get out of this fiat cycle that so many people are finally waking up to. Like that's been the biggest blessing of the past 4 years. I've been contrarian in my thinking now for most of my life, and I've never seen people talk about things like inflation, why inflation exists, you know, why the money printing is hurting us with this, that, and the other. So people are finally there. Thank God, people are finally there. So if we can just like shake off the and guys, look, if you're listening to this right now, you know, in the United States, we just had a horrible natural disaster, and you know who's been doing the most help? People have been helping other people. The government, our government, that is, it feels entitled to, you know, half of our wealth basically, has been completely useless in this endeavor. People are doing this. Like, you have to break the illusions, and if you break the illusions, then the magician is not so special anymore, right? There, you can just see it just doesn't matter. It's all bullshit. So if we can just do that and dismantle that system, then we literally have all the tools at our disposal right now so that our kids and our grandkids and everything can actually inherit a better earth than we did. And that's why I'm excited to see this Bitcoin documentary, because countless people are going to wind up right there eventually if they can.
I 100% agree with everything you said. I do, however, so I think the goal or the focus is on the people and organizing the people and just creating the tools so that they can actually better organize themselves from a local level, a localized level, and not necessarily to even pay mind to the establishment that is kind of messing stuff up right now, just to kind of transcend them. We are building tools so that their control mechanisms are obsolete. They're not necessary for us anymore. So we're not trying to dismantle them. We're really almost just trying to transcend what they have in place. And even it can stay there. It's just not going to be effective against promoting harmful paradigms. Do you recall? I'm sure you remember when there was the Occupy movement and the Tea Party movement.
Yeah.
Which you had this allegedly opposing ideologies, because that's what they tell us, that we have two opposing, very hard opposite, they allege, ideologies and political ideologies that are represented by the two parties that we are allowed to choose from, which both are run by corporate money and corporate interests.
Yeah. Oh,
so
dude.
They pretend that we have this dichotomy that isn't real. And there was this Occupy movement that was a reaction to the corporate influence on government, and the Tea Party movement, which was also a reaction to the corporate capture of government. And these two, I aligned with a lot of the spirit of both of these movements. And both of those movements were roundly targeted, diminished, infiltrated by bad actors, made to look bad, and then marginalized completely by media and the social media establishment. But
I remember that. Dude, I remember that.
Right, and then it went away. Good morning, Wagner. How are you today? It went away.
We had, I remember that so well, because that's within the first few years, of my realizing reality wasn't really what I thought it was. I was still very early in that process. And you basically saw two groups of people who, like you say, they actually agreed on way more than they disagreed on. And both of those movements were systematically co-opted by respective political parties and sabotaged internally and made into these things. Like the Republicans did it on the Tea Party side, the Democrats did it on Occupy Wall Street side. And then if you go look at if you want to go study graphs, then you realize that was the beginning of woke. That became exactly the great distraction. Is that the result there was, let's stop talking about the fact that we just bailed out all of these banks and bad actors and put the United States citizens on the path that we're currently feeling acutely right now. And let's go ahead and use this advanced brainwashing nonsense, because that's what all of this woke bullshit's ever been.
It's been divide and conquer.
Yeah,
it's exactly what it was. It was a divide and conquer play. They control the media. Now they're trying to establish, the World Economic Forum is talking about the biggest threat to humanity is disinformation and misinformation, while they run a massive misinformation, disinformation campaign against society. And they're so terrified that someone might come speak truth to it,
Right.
that they're trying to censor everybody that isn't regurgitating their message.
And
We're in
that's
a dire situation.
yeah, and that's the whole thing right there. Like, I'm so glad that Elon Musk bought Twitter, because that is, I don't know what things would look like and what people's perceptions would look like right now had he not. I suspect that the things we're going through right now would be gaslit as hard or even harder than the pandemic level gaslighting was. So if you just look back, you could probably figure, oh yeah, most people are still completely blissfully unaware of the reality of the situation. But that gets back to decentralization. And again, that we can take that back to Boom, right? Like, building decentralized systems that are attack proof is really
Exactly.
ultimately the way to go, because Elon Musk is just a guy. He's one of those guys that come along in a generation that, you know, his name will ever be etched in history. He's a Henry Ford. He's a Nikolai Tesla. He's a, you know, Johann Gutenberg. Whatever you want to say, he's that kind of guy. But he's still just a dude, and the actual power is in decentralization, and that's really the fundamental value of the Bitcoin network. And the more, that's what makes what we do here so important, right? Not just talking about it, the actual building, the actual, you know, educating, the way, raising awareness, helping people understand that the way that you gain control over your life, over your family, over your community, all starts with taking away the ability for other people to implement that control.
Absolutely, man. And it is just about, it's just about getting the people together to build forward, right? Which is what's going on in the space. Hero asked, did anyone see the parody about making green tanks? I didn't, but I'm curious. I don't want to forget about this because I'm sure it's got to be humorous if he's bringing it up. But also Wagme said, around the same, Mr. Wagme, our good friend, we'll build around them. Join us or they can be left behind. The people make the world go round. Decentralize everything. Yes, this is it. Transcend and include is the mantra. It's kind of a Zen Buddhist philosophy. You don't want to, so there's, I don't know if you're familiar with the idea of shadow work. Like, there's bad parts of us that we suppress and we don't want to pay attention to, right? And so we have to become aware of those things. You know, that's called shadow work, kind of confronting your dark side. You don't want to eliminate that from yourself. Like, your capacity to respond violently isn't bad. It's just got to be controlled. You need to transcend it, but still include it within you because it is part of you. You can't separate from. This is the same thing. This is the top-down tyrannical manifestation is a representation of the individual as well. We all have the capacity to be a tyrant. We all have the capacity to be aggressive and violent towards others. We just have to learn how to control that within ourselves, and then the same thing within our society.
You know, if you want to talk about a universal truth, if you look at the Christian tradition, the original sin is man wanting to be his own God. Like, that is actually original sin. That is, you have to like go a little deep into it to get past the Garden of Eden apple thing. But that original sin is man making himself his own God. And so that what you're talking about, that top down shadow system hierarchy, is that because you've got people who think that they should be God, and that's how it's manifested, right? And so, yeah, that's a
Right.
universal truth you're speaking to, you know.
Right. It's a part of the, so, and it's not wrong to even have that kind of capacity within you. You just got to learn it. Those that kind of chase that haven't learned all they need to know about themselves yet, right? So they can't transcend it because they don't understand themselves yet. I mean, I guess we're all still working on that, right? There's some stuff we'll just never know because we are limited to our subjective experience. We can't actually know everything. But yeah, man, I've been waiting for us to have a conversation that goes around this stuff. Personally, this is my thing. I want to say good morning. Binks gave us a shout out. Good morning, Binks. Hero shared a link that I'm just gonna throw up there real quick for people to catch. I guess that's with his Green Tanks parody. I'm gonna check that out later. Looking forward to the sip call later, sir. And then our good friend Trippin' Monkey has made an appearance this morning too. Friday morning yoga and meditation with Jack and Peace and Jack. Yeah, let's do it. We'll get our yoga pants on.
We're graybeards, so remaining flexible and is extraordinarily important to your health at this age.
It's very good for us, actually. You're right. We should definitely pay more attention to that.
Yeah, people don't think
going out too.
Your arteries and blood vessels are elastic too, right? So as you get stiffened, as you age, your muscles and joints get stiffened. So do your arteries, man. Like, so yeah, that's a little bit of, we'll deviate and go into a little bit of, I'll put my old healthcare worker hat back on for a second. Yeah, you definitely want to maintain your flexibility going into middle age and beyond. It's important. But I'm not personally going to wear yoga pants for you or Trippin', no matter how much I love you guys. Like that ain't happening.
Listen, this is a chest up experience for the viewer.
You got your Lulu mods.
Oh man.
No, I think we're, I think the thing to think about more than anything right now is as freaked out as people were about the market just a few days ago. If you look back on it, it was not that big of a deal on the chart because it was not that big of a deal in reality. And, don't be manipulated by the same assholes that we've spent the last half hours talking about so that they can buy your Bitcoin cheap. Like that's going to be the biggest tragedy for people, as Bitcoin just continues to accumulate in value, as more nation states begin to implement Bitcoin as a part of their currency, or if not their outright currency. Like this stuff it's going to be a pipe dream for people to own the kind of Bitcoin that we can just casually buy now, right? Easily.
Oh God. I mean, I remember when it was, I was around in 2017. Like I got in midsummer. I think it was about $2,000 and I bought like a couple $100 my first Bitcoin. Just before the Bitcoin Cash split fork. And so I ended up getting a little bit of Bitcoin Cash. Obviously, I did it through Coinbase and they held on to it while it was went really high, and they didn't actually give it to us until it had already kind of crashed back down to earth.
All right.
But yes, I watched it go from a couple grand to 20 grand, and the complete oh my God, we're never gonna be able to buy it at this price again. I saw a friend of mine buy a whole Bitcoin at 20 grand at that point because he thought, and then watched it go all the way back to down to like 3,800 at one point over the course of a couple of years. It takes time, and sometimes even that $20,000 wasn't a terrible buy in perspective from where we are now.
Right. You'd have the Bears, the Bears all over the timeline aren't even calling for 20 grand anymore. You know, and if you go back 6 months ago, you had some people being like, "Oh, it's going to hit 16. You know, oh, it's going to hit 30. Oh, it's going to hit 40." And we didn't even touch 58 this time. And I don't think we're going to touch 58 unless shit goes massively sideways. If that cackling moron becomes president, it's Goblin Town for a while.
All bets are off. All bets are off. It's still gonna. We're still gonna have a bull market, but it'll be much more tedious to navigate.
Yeah,
and it might be hard to hold in the U.S. To be honest, I'm not sure.
Yeah, dude. Like unrealized capital gains and all of this just utter nonsense. But people are waking up.
That's such a ridiculous, from just a general logic and reason standpoint. Unrealized capital.
It's not illogical if you know where they're coming from. It's illogical if you think that they're operating in one spot. It's not illogical if you realize that the whole point of everything they do is you will own nothing and you will be happy, right? That's then it makes perfect sense. So people have to do themselves a favor and be like, wait, I have to break this mental model where what I thought the values were and what the game was is actually different. That's all. That's all it really is. When you break away from that and you look at it, like, no, it makes perfect sense. These people want to own everything, and they want to have a populace that is completely and totally dependent on their whims.
It's actually an attempt to marginalize all competition. It's monopolization on a mass scale. It's actually what they've been working on for a couple hundred years.
Yeah, so you talk about ultimate centralization versus ultimate decentralization, and that is the battle that we're in, and that is why the more people who even get exposed to Bitcoin, if they can just look at it just for a little while and just learn and learn and learn and learn, and then they'll eventually get to that point. Because it surpasses number go up. That's why, dude. And I'm not trying to offend anybody, despite like I can be kind of abrasive. That's why Bitcoin maxis.
That's called honest, Jack. That's called honest.
Like every damn time, like something would come up in the past years with a altcoin or this or that, and the Bitcoin maxis are like cheering on the SEC and regulation. Like, what in God's earth do you actually believe? You know, like how can you be a Bitcoiner and be like, oh yeah, I want this unelected group of assholes to like destroy this burgeoning technology? And usually the rationale is, well, if it was just Bitcoin, the number would be higher. Look, man, like you have to progress past that. You have to progress past that, and people can if they stick around long enough. But in the meantime, we those of us who can understand this a little bit better, and you know, we really do have a moral obligation to do everything we can to help free people's minds, you know, because for years now I don't conceptualize a dollar like I did 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Even a dollar to me is a worthless piece of paper, you know.
You see, my meme is still my background on my main account with Dr. Grandiavalo letting everybody know that that's just worthless trash. And it's useful for accumulating my groceries, right? It's useful for paying some of my bills, but it's not useful to hold in any other way. It's literally a debt instrument. It's only good for paying off debt. The long-term goal for space really to to never sell your Bitcoin, to borrow against it in fiat denominated money so you can spend it that way. I don't want to spend my Bitcoin. I want to spend my USDH that I borrowed into existence on Zest protocol against my Bitcoin, and I'll just refinance it as the value of the Bitcoin goes up and the value of the dollars go down.
And you cannot do that absent of smart contracts, right? That's the other part that the maxis don't understand. So a maxi is no different than a fiat maximalist if you take this to its logical conclusion. As long as they're just focused on this one thing and not looking at any of the ramifications, you cannot build an economy on Bitcoin absent of smart contracts. Otherwise, you're just playing. You're going to play in the same TradFi system, in the same centralized system, because you're going to see that a lot of the things we've already done in this space, you're going to see large corporations and banks and so forth make their own version of it. You're going to see that. You're already starting to see that. Like talking about BNS, I can't remember which company. It basically started their own human readable addresses for Bitcoin in the private sector. But my BNS is decentralized. So I want my finance on Bitcoin to also be decentralized. So there's no absence, and you can't do any of it without smart contracts. I'm sorry, you just can't. And Stacks represents the most decentralized way that we have right now to build that Bitcoin economy. And that's why we're all here. And so that is why we need to keep doing what we're doing. We need to get people in these communities. We need to educate. We need to have the discussions. We need to just speed run this as much as we can, because literally everything in the future is at stake. This is a battle that has to be won, and it can be, and I think we're gonna win it.
I couldn't agree more, sir. That's exactly, I think that's a great way to wrap up the show. Actually, I've had you on for an hour and 10 minutes. I know your time is very valuable. And I could talk to you all day. We just, we have great conversations, but you're right. This is where there is, a purpose behind this. There's an ethos here that's, being built out along, and we need more people involved. We need more people engaged. And there's a lot of efforts underway to help make more onboarding opportunities, to make those onboarding opportunities more successful, and to make the experiences when we do onboard new people good experiences so they stick around. And that is super encouraging, but we do need more. We need more. Bring your friends, let people know. And as Wagney says, we are all going to make it. We're going to make it. We're going to be successful. And the victory comes from just creating great applications and great experiences. There's no straw man to take down. Right. We're building up an ecosystem. That's our win. That's our victory. We will be victorious in this. I have no doubt about it.
We have no choice.
It's all we can do. It's all we can do. Thank you, Trip. Always love the support. Thank you, Wagney, for all your chat. Everyone that said hi, Binks, Gigapepe. I almost forgot to mention, you guys, still a little bit of time to mint a Gigapepe and get one of those backgrounds. There's 4 more being announced today, right?
Yeah. How 8? I think we're down to the last 8. So yeah. And how cool today, how cool is that, right? Like,
so cool.
Last thing, and I'm done, because the other thing I always preach about is you can't take today's reality and think that it's going to be the same tomorrow. And so for everyone who screamed on my timeline, NFTs are dead, they could have no way of knowing that you could take a collection that was minted in July of 2024 and in October 2024 still being able to do things for that NFT, opening up opportunities for artists, making and dude, like, we all have limited capacity. People are going to take the DMT standard and they're going to do so many cool things with it that I can't even conceptualize right now.
Jack, well,
but
the stuff you guys have innovated in the Rue community and the stuff that's to come is nothing short of amazing. It's really like, it's next level stuff. It's the opposite of extractive. It's providing value to your community just over and over again, that's part of the keeping them here experience. You're creating a place for your community to participate and engage regularly, and kudos to you. That is actually, and I love what Giga Pepe is doing with you guys. I love how you have so many other people. Reese, what Ian does is just next level stuff, and also involved in helping build out the space. Jamie saying NFTs are not dead. Hell no, NFTs are not dead. They are not dead. They're part of the next. They're just becoming more usable.
I can't wait. Like, I have to bite my tongue. I can't wait to be able to come on here and talk to you guys about Joey. Like, y'all are about to see decentralization at a level that's never been seen before. Like, it's short of Bitcoin, right? Because this is you can't out decentralize Bitcoin, but like, that's what we tried to do with Rue. We tried to make something very decentralized as a meme coin. But wait till you guys see what's coming. Like, I'm so excited about it.
When?
Dude,
when? Can you tell us when?
I'm hoping that within a month or so, I'll be able to really start diving into talking about it, because there's so many moving parts. It's the biggest thing that I've ever worked on. I can't speak for Ian, because Ian's done a lot in his day, but it's massive, and so I'm hoping within a month, but this is going to be great, dude. Like, and more of that, because the more people come in, the more people who learn, the more cool shit we're going to build, and the more we're going to push the space forward. And so, yeah, dude,
I'm super excited about it. I'm bullish. I was actually looking at some, not financial advice, but I was looking at some more Rue this morning myself. Trying to get some different liquidity to do that.
My thesis for Rue is simple. Like, I truly believe that institutions are going to want meme coin exposure, because our perception of what a meme coin has already changed. Our meme coin used to be Doge. It was just Doge. That's your meme coin, right?
Massively inflation. It's like the dollar.
Right. And so, like, that's already changed. And so, when you try to make the best meme coin that you can possibly make, you do that to give everyone a good chance. And I think as a part of that, I think that you're going to see institutions want to have meme coin exposure. I truly believe that. It's because I don't think meme coins are going anywhere. So, for the builders out there, keep that kind of stuff in mind, because it's, build for the future. Don't build for a cycle. Don't build for a day. Or God forbid, don't be like those soy boys on Solana building for 5 minutes so they can rug $10 worth of profit from somebody, right? Like, we've got too much cool stuff here. Let's go into overdrive and help expedite this process of mass adoption.
Hell yeah, man. We could talk all day. There's just endless
It's true.
subjects in this space. There really is. I love you, man. I'm glad,
Love
so
you too,
glad to
brother.
have you back in action. I'm super bullish on Jackbinswitch and what he's building out, and our Stacks ecosystem and Bitcoin overall. I love you all. Happy Friday. We made it through a week, finished the day out strong, touch some grass tomorrow and Sunday, and we'll see you all back here on Monday morning. Thank you, Jack. Always a pleasure,
Thank
my
you,
brother.
Same.
I love you all too.
Killing it. Y'all have a good one.
We're killing it. We're killing it.
Fair
Let's
enough.
go.